Hi, I'm Aaron, and today I am going to make yeast risen pretzel rolls and pretzel hot dog buns. Okay, to start, I'm going to start with about a 1/4 ounce of fresh baker's yeast. So I keep this in the freezer, so it's frozen. I portion it up and I pull out little portions as I need it. So that's about a 1/4 ounce. And I also have 2 cups of tap hot water. So I just got this from our faucet. And now I'm going to incorporate all that yeast into the hot water. Get it all nice and broken up because it is still a little bit cold. If I don't put it in while it's still cold and frozen, it gets a little gooey because it's been in the freezer. It breaks down a little bit. But keeping your yeast in the freezer, if you have a source of fresh yeast, you can get a pound and it'll keep, and from what I understand, there is no noticeable difference between a yeast that you buy today that is fresh and a yeast that I bought 9 months from today and use it if it's been in the freezer. Okay, so that's nice and incorporated. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. So I just kind of, looks like a tablespoon to me. I have measured out a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Now I'm going to stir all that in, get it all nice and incorporated. Alright, so that's incorporated. Now, the flour to water ratio for this recipe should be 3:1. So if you used 1 cup of water, then you can use 3 cups of flour. I used 2 cups of water, so I'm going to use 6 cups of flour. I'm going to start small and make a poolish first, which is a 1:1 ratio of flour to water. So I used 2 cups of flour and 2 cups of water. Okay, so now I've got 2 cups of flour in here. I'm going to stir this up and incorporate it until I have what should be technically known as a poolish. And then from that step, I'm going to go up and add another 2 cups of flour, and from that is actually called a big butt. I am going to knead this dough today as opposed to some of my no-knead doughs. And I like to give my hands and arms a workout, so I am going to knead it by hand today. I'm going to add an additional 2 cups of flour into my dough here. This is a 1/2 cup measuring cup that I'm using. Alright. At some point in time, I'm going to have to give up the fork and start to work this with my hands, but we'll see how long it takes. So after I get this kneaded for 10 minutes today, I'm going to refrigerate this for 24 hours. It allows the flour to develop some really nice flavors. You can by all means leave it on your counter and let it rise and have it ready. It'll probably be fully risen in about 4 hours, and you can knock it down and shape it. But I prefer to give it a little bit longer. We're going to give it about 24 hours total of bulk fermentation time before I knock it down in shape and proof. You also have to know your flour. So when you are working with your flour, if you notice that it is getting too dry, don't add any more flour to it. Like I may not have to add an additional 2 cups to this, so we're looking at about a 2:1 to this. So I'm going to keep kneading it, and as I knead it, I'm going to be able to tell if it gets into if it gets too sticky. I don't want a sticky dough because I need to be able to move the buns from a proof to a water bath back to a proof, and if it's too sticky I'm going to have a really hard time moving it back and forth. The flour that I'm using today is a high protein or a high gluten flour. It is a local mill here in Oregon called Pendleton Mills, and the brand is, or the type of flour is a power flour. But if you have access to any high protein flour or high gluten flour, it will work. You can also get a bread flour. Bread flours work for this just fine. If you're able to get some extra gluten, sometimes called gluten flour, is straight gluten. You can add a tablespoon of extra gluten into your flour. My dough is still fairly sticky, so I'm gonna go and add another half cup into my dough and work that in. And that's probably gonna be enough. I don't want it to be a shaggy dough. I do want it to be a nice clean dough. So after I get this kneaded, and I am going to knead this for about 10 minutes, I am going to spray the bowl with some Vegeline or some non-stick pan spray, just so it doesn't stick to the sides of the bowl. So it does take some work. By all means, use your KitchenAid mixer, or if you have another type of stand mixer that you feel comfortable kneading dough into, by all means use that. Or use your hands. There's nothing wrong with getting your hands into your dough. That way you get a good feeling. And the more that you work with the doughs that you're making for bread, the more comfortable you get, and the more you know how your flour works in there. That way it's less of a science and more of an art. So that's about it. My dough is starting to look pretty good now. I'm just going to spend the next 10 minutes kneading it. Everybody has their own knead techniques, but we will check back tomorrow and see the next phase of shaping and proofing and getting these into pretzel buns. Alright, so now we're back to make some pretzel rolls. First off, I'm going to take, this is 2 cups of baking soda, and I'm going to put this in the oven for 1 hour at 400 degrees. So that is now in the oven. This is the dough that we made yesterday. It has been in the fridge for the past 24 hours. And actually I took it out about an hour ago. And so now I'm going to punch it out and we can start working with it. We are going to make 6 hamburger buns, and we are going to make 6 hot dog buns. Alright, so that's punched out. I don't even need that anymore. I've got a scale here today, so we're going to make some accurate hamburger and hot dog buns. I'm going to weigh out our hamburger buns at 5 ounces, and I'm going to weigh out our hot dog buns at 3 ounces. The reason that I put the baking soda in the oven is that I'm not going to use food grade lye to cook my pretzel buns with. It's a pretty toxic chemical and I'd rather not eat it. And by placing the baking soda into the oven, you are driving off some of the water molecules that are in the baking soda and creating it and allowing it to be more basic, which will give you the texture of the pretzel that you're looking for without having to use food grade lye. Okay, so I'm going to weigh all these out to 5 ounces, and then I am going to make them into buns. The reason that you want to use a scale if you have access to one, is that it allows you to have more accurate cooking time across your whole product. If you don't have a scale, then you can end up with one bun that is 5 ounces and another bun that is 3 ounces, and so a bun that is 5 ounces is obviously going to take longer to cook than a bun that is 3 ounces. So, I'm going to start with 4 hamburger buns, and I will also make some hot dog buns that are 3 ounces, just to make sure that I have enough for hot dog buns. So once you get it all weighed out, it gives your dough a chance to rest a little bit before you start working it and trying to form it. Try to make sure that after you've had your dough in the fridge for 24 hours, you give it some time to warm up. It will be easier to work with and it's going to react better. Okay, so I'm going to finish doing the hot dog and hamburger buns, and we'll come back for forming. Okay, so what I ended up with was 4 5-ounce hamburger style buns and 7 3-ounce hot dog, what will be hot dog buns. So I have all my portions laid out here, ready to be formed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the roll, I'm going to use the palm of my hand and spin it around. You can use a fair amount of force to make sure that you're using the heel of your hand to make that nice and smooth against. Then, when you have a nice round ball, take the heel or palm of your hand and push. Push and push and push and make it nice and round until it's the size of a hamburger bun. So I'm going to put this down on a baking sheet. I'm going to repeat the same process for the 4 hamburger buns that I have made. Like I said, once again, until they are the size of a hamburger bun. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them rest on that cookie sheet while I make all of the other hot dog buns. And then I will come back to these buns and I'm going to do the same thing again just to make sure that they're nice and flat, because what I don't want is I don't want a little ball of a bun that doesn't fit any meat on it when I go to make hamburgers. What I want is a nice circular bun with lots of circumference area so there's plenty of room to put a hamburger on it. So I'm going to let that relax a little bit and I will come back to those in a second. Now I'm going to take these little dough balls, the 3-ounce portions that I've made, I'm going to take a rolling pin and I'm going to make it nice and flat and oblong. So the kind of the dimensions that you would like for your hot dog bun. So, right, like that. Nice and even at the end. Now it's nice and flat and even. What we're going to do is we're going to take the one side, we're going to roll it into the middle. We're going to take the opposite side and meet it in the middle, push it down, pinch off the ends. If you don't pinch off the ends, you're not going to get the same kind of oven spring that you're going to want. So, I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that onto a baking pan. So I'm going to do this another 7 times and then I'm going to re-push these down so they're nice and flat, and then I'm going to let these proof for approximately 1 hour and we will come back and show you the next steps in this. So we're back. It's been an hour. These are the hot dog buns that I made. Like I said, I made 7 of them. And the hamburger buns are over here. I've got the baking soda out of the oven and I put it into a pot. That was 2 cups of baking soda into this pot of water, and it's probably around 7 cups of water. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently take the hot dog buns and place them into the boiling pot of water. We get 30 seconds. Into the water. I'm going to do 3 at a time. I'm going to let them go in for 30 seconds. I'm going to flip them over really quick at the bottom a little bit, and then I'm going to take them out. So I was definitely paying attention to the direction that I was putting them in, and so now I'm just going to flip them over at the same direction and take them out. Doesn't take very long. We are not trying to cook them at all. We are definitely trying to get a certain texture on them. And you're going to see when they come out of the oven what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get the next 3 in. Actually, I'm going to put all 4 in. So you can kind of see the bottoms there. When they bake on the bottom, they're going to pretty much be sealed up. You won't have any big gaps in the bread or anything. So like I said, 30 seconds. Just keeping time in my head. Doesn't have to be an exact science. My baking is definitely not about an exact science. It's more an artisan style bread baking. So I'm going to pull these out. And because they're still raw in the middle, they're going to get a fair amount of oven springs still. So make sure that you leave plenty of room on the baking tray for it. I'm using an air insulated baking tray. I don't think that it makes too big of a difference. Now what I'm going to do is I have my bread knife and I'm going to dock these. Or slash them. Just give it a quick slash down the top, right down the middle. Give somewhere for that air to escape, or the carbon dioxide as it bakes. Allows for a little bit more uniform oven spring. A lot of people use a sharp razor blade. I've come to just love my bread knife on this. Okay, so this is going to take 10 to 12 minutes in the oven. I will check it at 10 minutes. I'm going to keep my eye on it, that's for sure. And then I will pull it out. Okay, we're back now. It has been a full 10 minutes at 450 degrees, and our pretzel rolls are done, and they are beautiful. Take a look at the nice color on these. Obviously this one I could have slid a little bit deeper, but still nice and soft. Ooh, they're hot. Some people may not want to use their bare hands. I just don't touch them very long. Very hot. All right, take a look at that. That is beautiful. That seam along the bottom's a little bit open still, but it's nothing to be concerned about. Can you imagine eating a hot dog in one of these fresh baked pretzel rolls? You are going to be the hit of the picnic. All right. Now, it is time to do our hamburger buns. These are a little bit bigger. Also, once again, be careful. 30 seconds. I'm going to do 2 at a time. It's not at a rolling boil, just kind of a gentle boil. Make sure it's hot. Kind of gets that little pop of that pretzel feel that you want. There's definitely a certain texture and flavor that you're looking for with the pretzel. Give them a little quick turn. And I'm going to take these out. You don't want to leave too much water on top, so if you see a pool of water happening, just drain it off a little bit. Because you'll definitely taste a little bit of the baking soda if you leave a big pool of water on top of that. Beautiful. Like I said, I have some barbecued pulled chicken cooking right now on my barbecue. Some fresh rosemary helping smoke it along. It is going to be so good on one of these rolls. I don't know about you, but I am an eater. I do like to eat, and I do like to eat good food, but I also like to eat healthy food, which is kind of why I started making my own bread as much as I do, and kind of wanted to make the perfect loaf of bread. And in the quest to make a perfect loaf of bread, I've realized that there is no one perfect loaf of bread. So many different types of breads, and so we want to make sure that it's healthy food and delicious food. Okay, so all these have been cooked for 30 seconds now. Once again, I'm going to give a good slash right down the middle. On these buns, I like to give a cross. Whatever you want to use for a slashing tool is fine. I really do find it easier to use this serrated knife. A lot of people do have a specific slashing tool, or they just use a box cutter or a razor blade. Okay, so now this is going to go in the oven for 15 minutes. So that's 15 minutes at 450 degrees. These are done. They have been in for 13 minutes instead of, ooh, that's hot, instead of 15 minutes, but they are done. They are beautiful. These are the most requested buns that I have from my family. And you know why? Because they're awesome. Alright, so the hamburger buns are a little bit darker. Guess I could have probably pulled them out a minute ago, but they're going to be perfect. So this is what we got. We have 4 hamburger buns, 7 hot dog buns. Took about 26 hours total, and I'm looking forward to this picnic. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.